So our first speaker up is Max Rhodes. He is this co-founder and CEO of Faire, a wholesale marketplace that equips makers and retailers with the tools they need to compete against big box stores and e-commerce. Max, would you like to come on up?
Hi. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Hey, as she mentioned, I'm Max. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Faire. We are a wholesale marketplace that connects independent retailers with products that we guarantee will sell in their stores. And when I say guarantee, I mean we actually underwrite the inventory risk for these stores and allow them to return any products that they buy from us within 60 days, something that has never been possible before. So today, I want to talk a little bit about the history of retail, why we believe that the future of retail is local, and how Faire is going to fit into that future. So for most of human history, retail was local. It was actually trade in the first place that brought humans together into communities. Our ancestors came together to trade goods and services with each other. And almost everything that was bought and sold up until about 100 years ago was actually bought from our neighbors. And I think there's something really amazing about that, because every single one of those exchanges actually brought us closer together and strengthened the bonds of our community. Then, starting in about 1960, with the rise of Walmart and then dozens of other category killers in almost every vertical, you saw the rise of the chain store. And with it, retail lost its connection to community. It became about accumulating as much stuff as possible, as quickly as possible, at the lowest price possible. Stores moved outside of the town square, off of Main Street, onto the outskirts of town where there was more room for more stuff. And thousands of small business owners lost their livelihoods. I actually grew up in a small town in Oklahoma in the United States. And in my small town, there was a store when I was growing up called Athletic Village. And every year I would buy my soccer shoes from Athletic Village. And the owner of Athletic Village, his name was Richard Baptist. He was an amazing guy. He was just one of those guys that lit up a room as soon as you walked into it. His son Blake was actually on my soccer team, and so every year I would go and I would buy my shoes from Richard at Athletic Village. And then in, I think, 2002, a new chain store opened up on the outskirts of town where all of the other chain stores were in the strip mall. And I think it was literally called Shoe Monster. And Shoe Monster was huge. It had thousands of pairs of shoes. There was a basketball court inside of it. And people started buying their shoes at Shoe Monster because it had larger assortments, lower prices. And a couple years later, Athletic Village shut down. And watching the impact that that had on Richard and his entire family, including Blake, was really difficult. And it was really difficult for our entire community. And this was not an isolated case by any means. Hundreds of thousands of small business owners lost their livelihoods over the course of the past 100 years. And in 1994, when Amazon first showed up on the scene, I think most people, many people in this room probably still believe that that trend that put Richard out of business was only going to continue and might actually accelerate. The future seemed to be everything that we bought would come in a little brown box with a smiley face on it, probably made in a factory by robots, delivered to us in a truck, probably driven by robots. And what has actually happened, and I think what is really interesting, is quite different. Over the course of the past 10 years, there has been a renaissance of local retail. You've seen it in bookstores first. You saw it in grocery stores, pharmacies, apparel. Almost every category, you've seen this resurgence of independent retail. And the reason for that is because these stores have already been through their version of the retail apocalypse. And the ones that survived that original apocalypse had already figured out how to survive in a world where they didn't have the lowest prices and the largest assortments. Big box stores prepared these independent stores for a future dominated by Amazon. And the result is, all across the United States and Canada, you are seeing a comeback of these small stores all across Main Street, town squares, small towns, urban centers. You see it everywhere, even in Toronto. And the reason that we are here today, the reason why Faire exists, is because we want to power the shop local movement. We want to make sure that these stores take advantage of the opportunity in front of them, because it's not a guarantee. Many of the issues that these stores faced and that put Richard out of business still exist. Amazon and Walmart still have billions of dollars. They still have teams of buyers optimizing their assortments. They still have machine learning algorithms that are deciding what to buy, that are making sure that you click on exactly what they want you to click on. And that's something that these stores have never had before. With Faire, these stores have the advantages that previously have only been available to the largest big box stores and the largest e-commerce giants. When a store signs up for Faire, they have access to almost 5,000 makers. They're able to buy these makers with free returns, something that previously only big box stores could do. They get net 60 payment terms, so they have access to capital, something that they've never had before. And for $9.99 a month, they're able to get free freight on every single one of their orders. We're increasing their margins, we're increasing their sales, and we're making life easier for them. The way that this market historically has worked, retailers are literally flying around the country, going to trade shows, making purchases based primarily on guesswork, and shelling out all of their funds on inventory. And with Faire, that no longer is the case. And the result is that we now have 25,000 stores buying on our platform. To put that into perspective, there are 27,000 Starbucks locations globally. We have almost as many locations, and we've been around for 2 years. We now have almost as many locations as there are Starbucks locations. And the wonderful thing about that is that's what makes this whole thing possible. The reason that we're able to do what we do is because we are helping these stores reach scale that previously only the largest chains had. We are connecting these stores together and helping them compete, leveling the playing field. 93% of consumers would prefer to shop local, all things being equal. But today, things are not equal. Faire is going to make sure that the playing field is leveled, that things are equal, so that consumers like us can make a choice. Do you want to buy from somebody in your community, selling products that are made by people in your community, or do you want to buy from a chain store, or do you want to help Jeff Bezos make another $1 billion because he just lost 15 in his divorce? Local retail is thriving, and with Faire, we are going to power their success, level the playing field, and help make sure that consumers can continue to buy from people in their community and bring retail back to what it once was and what we think it will continue to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was incredible. Here, I'll just take the clicker off of you. Yeah, thank you. Oh, double mic. Nobody needs double mic to Kelly. Okay, cool. So any questions, actually, for Max, if you want to come up? Did anyone have any questions?
So I'll be one of the runners, so if you have a question, I'll bring you a mic. Questions?
I'd personally like to give one more round of applause because what you're doing is incredibly special and extremely impactful in just 2 years, so kudos.
Thank you. Oh, we got one. I'll do it. I can get it here.
You guys killing it.
I would like to talk a little bit about the retail side of this. So when somebody's sourcing from Faire, do they get any advantages for retailing their business, retailing those products online or maybe on their stores, other than the fact that their inventories are all risk-free and those things? Is there anything that they get on their retail front?
Yeah, so the couple of benefits. First of all, we give them net 60 payment terms. So the way that retail traditionally works for small stores, you can only buy as much as you can afford to buy. Previously, if you're a small store, you're not getting terms, you're not buying on credit, you actually are using the capital in your business to buy inventory. And the result is a lot of these stores are under inventory. They can't buy as much as they need to buy in order to be able to sell. They can't get bank loans, they can't buy on credit from their vendors. So we're supporting them, giving them net 60 payment terms, allowing them to carry more inventory, which allows them to sell more. Number two is free returns, which there's a benefit there in that it allows them to try things they otherwise wouldn't have tried. The second benefit is because we have 25,000 stores on the platform, because we have $100 million in sales running through the platform, that actually is data that we can use to optimize their assortments. So we're seeing the products that are being sold in a store in Toronto and then comparing that to the products that are being sold in a store in Vancouver, and we're actually able to help those stores make better decisions because, oh, this product didn't sell well, got returned, therefore I'm not going to recommend it to a similar store in Vancouver. So we're using machine learning models to actually predict sell-through, and that's why the model works. That's why we're able, that's why scale is so important, and that's why we're able to offer free returns in a way that has never been offered before. And then finally, the other really important point is for stores that opt into our insider program, which is $9.99 a month, they get free freight. And freight is typically about 5% of the cost of the wholesale good, and if you're a small shop, you've got 3% net profit margins, so it's an opportunity for you to double your net profit margin by saving on free freight. I mean, all of this is possible because of our scale, the efficiency that we bring to the table, rather than renting out a giant trade show, having to hire all these sales reps. It's all automated, it's all online, and the result is that we save a lot of money, eliminate a lot of the cost, and we pass those savings along to the retailers in the form of all these benefits.
So what are your challenges going forward, knowing that Amazon isn't going to stop growing?
Yeah, so I think that you're right. Amazon isn't going to stop growing. I think that the world, as we see it, is going to bifurcate into commodity goods, which is Amazon and Walmart. It's how cheaply can I get it? I don't care who made it. I just need toilet paper. I need dog food. And then you're going to have everything else, experiential retail, things that have meaning. If you ask almost anybody in this room, what's your favorite object that you own in your home, there's a very good chance that it is not the coffee Keurig machine, the big screen TV. It's likely something that you bought from a local boutique where there's some sort of meaning associated with that purchase, where there's a memory associated with it. And that's really where local retail can be successful. It's in the curation, it's in the personalized experience, it's in creating connection and community and memory.
Hi. I'm just wondering, how does it work from the vendor side of things? So what kind of risk does a vendor carry when it comes to free returns and discounted freight and all that? Does that come out of their pocket, or how does that work?
So we charge the vendors a commission. There's no risk to them. We actually underwrite the inventory risk, take it on ourselves. So if you're a vendor, you sell to us, we take anywhere from a 15 to a 25% commission, but you're made whole, you're paid up front, and we actually float the capital, and we take on the risk of the return, where we actually then redistribute it through the marketplace.
Yeah, quick question. Pretty fascinating story. I never heard about Faire before listening to you. How long did it take you to build your platform? Like their growth of 2 years, 25,000 merchants. That's like over 1,000 merchants starting up, per month. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to build it out, and how big is your team? Yeah.
So we were in beta for about 9 months. So we launched in early 2017. We were in beta. We did Y Combinator. Came out of Y Combinator, raised a seed round, and then we launched in August of 2017. And from that moment on, it basically took off. We've raised about $120 million total. We are now about 110 people. And I mean, now we're adding over 2,000 retailers a week. So the growth has been accelerating over the course of the past year, particularly.
Hi. Do you also have a focus on working with local vendors to local retail businesses? And do you have like a minimum requirement on business size to take those vendors on?
Great question. We do focus on independent makers or craft brands, they're sometimes called. Over half of our products are not sold on Amazon. That's actually a focus of ours. It's the makers that also have a story where their products need to be, their story needs to be told. That's a big part of the advantage that local retailers have. I actually got into the business because I had a brand called Blunt Umbrellas, which I introduced to the US market. Great umbrella if you're in the market for an umbrella on a rainy day. But we struggled with this problem of, it's got this great story behind it. It was invented by a guy who was poked in the eye by a traditional umbrella. He created this blunt canopy and sort of stumbled upon this invention where the tips fan out, redistribute the tension in the canopy, which makes it more aerodynamic so it can withstand winds of 70 miles an hour. That's something that's very difficult to communicate online, and it's definitely not going to get communicated through sales reps at Neiman Marcus or Nordstrom. We sold into both of those places, and it didn't work because of that. And we did do really well in these small shops. So that's really the type of vendor. We do have a requirement that you at least have some wholesale experience, because wholesale is sort of a different beast, and we want to make sure that logistically, you're going to be able to handle the volume. But we have vendors that are doing as little as $50,000 a year in sales. Some that are doing in the millions, but it's mostly small businesses on either side. And that's a big part of our mission, empowering small businesses.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all the time we have for questions, but thank you so much, Max. A round of applause for Max again.